All right, we'll be back from the break, and in our coffee court discussions tonight, we dig deeper in retirement. Again, how best can you prepare for retirement, but how is the space for the pensions in Uganda as well? And is the environment quite good for Ugandans, and is it quite favorable for Ugandans to save for their retirement? This and more in our coffee court tonight.
Well, it's a pleasure and thank you for joining us on this coffee court. My name is Fred Makuya. Our dedication is to drive business. And this time around, we open our eyes to the 60 years of independence, where we've come from, where are we, and where are we headed. Our area of concentration is with Uganda Retirement Benefit Regulatory Authority, and joining me to discuss this is the Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Anthony Nsubuga. Mr. Idi, thank you for joining me.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
60 years of independence. What is independence, first of all, to you?
Well, independence, being on your own. If you're a child, you've grown up, you are not dependent. If you are using the English direct, you are independent. You can stand on your own, do things without anybody dictating on what you should do. If you are planning for yourself, you are not influenced by any other party. It means you've matured.
Okay. So 60 years of independence as a country is what we are digesting. Maybe from the perspective of the Uganda Retirement Benefit Regulatory Authority, where have we come from, in your view?
It's a long journey. When you talk of retirement benefits in this market, it started way back in 1946. That's the literature I was able to read.
Okay.
By the Pensions Act, which was mainly focusing on civil servants then, who were supporting the colonialists at the time. Actually, it was only focusing on the colonialists serving in the country. But it gave birth to the Public Service Pension Scheme, which we'll talk about today, which is able to incorporate beyond those who are the colonialist time, but also those now purely in public service, including the teachers, including other people in the districts, local government, which was not the case at that point in time.
Okay.
And it also came up with a way of how benefits was designed. It gave birth to a way of paying people some money in pension as they retire, but informed largely by the period of service, number of years of service, what level of exit you've those now purely in public service, including the teachers, including other people in the districts, local government, which was not the case at that point in time.
Okay.
And it also came up with a way of how benefits was designed. It gave birth to a way of paying people some money in pension as they retire, but informed largely by the period of service, number of years of service, what level of exit you've retired at. And there was a formula that was applicable. That formula has been evolving over time, but the current one at least provides a fairly we call, in our language, we call it an attractive replacement rate. If you're retiring as an employee of government and you've been earning, as an example, 1 million shilling a month, you are also able to get the similar replacement of around 80% of that. So you'll be getting a pension of around 800,000. So that's what it has been forever, the way it is, and the way it still is. The only unfortunate bit is that it's not funded. It's purely financed from the consolidated fund.
Okay.
And that's the model for the public service. The beauty is that because of the sectors evolved over time, it also gave birth to the scheme that was catering for the private sector employees.
Which are these sectors you're talking about?
Now, the first one was mainly for the public servants. Now, in 1985, it gave birth to the NSSF, which we speak of today.
Okay.
Which was catering for the private sector employees and employers who are not under the public side. And the way it was designed, it is a contributor arrangement. An employer contributes for their staff 10%, and the employee also contributes 5%. And that's the model. Now, with the birth of the regulation...
Is that the model or that was the model?
No, that is the model, 1985. You know, I'm separating the two. There's the public service, which is not funded.
Okay.
You serve permanent and pensionable, work until you retire, and then you are paid the pension, the gratuity and the pension on a monthly basis. There is also the private arrangement under the NSSF, where people make a contribution under the private arrangement, where both the employer and the employee make a contribution. At the point of retirement, you get a lump sum payment, which we've seen in this market that people get it, and in 3 years they eat it and spend it. But again, given the birth of the UBRA, that's in 2021, that's the UBRA Act, it gave birth to other occupational schemes which can make contributions in addition to the NSSF. So if you are to look at it from that side, there are structures of a scheme which are purely based government funded under the public service arrangement, and then the private arrangement window, which is the NSSF mirror plus other occupational schemes. But under the private arrangement window, there's what we call a hybrid scheme, which has both the characteristics of what the public service has. Public service model is called the defined benefit scheme.
Okay.
And then under the private arrangement, which is under the NSSF, is called a defined contribution scheme. But we have what we call a hybrid, which captures characteristics of both the defined contribution and the defined benefit scheme. Now, a scheme that has those characteristics is the parliamentary pension scheme, which caters for the members of parliament and the staff of parliament. Now, that scheme has a contributory component where government contributes 30% into that scheme, and then members who are members of parliament contribute 15%. I think it's one of the schemes in this market with the highest level of contribution, the most expensive scheme. Now, the beauty about that scheme, when you make contributions into it, what you get out, you get a pension. Of course, those who qualify, not everybody would qualify for the pension. I think you must be 45 years and above. The beauty with that, it creates a funded defined benefit scheme. Unlike the public service pension scheme, which is not funded, the one under parliamentary pension scheme gives a certain level of guarantee of funding, that it gives certainty that when somebody retires, he's assured of the money being available to be paid.
Okay.
Under the public service, that's why we have certain areas of arrears, unpaid benefits, because it basically relies mainly on funding from government. Now, is it sustainable, the public service pension scheme?
Is a fundamental question.
That's the direction we have to take. It's not sustainable. Actually, the numbers indicate that if we continue with this trend of the public service pension scheme, in the next 10 years, 15 years, the government will not be able to afford it.
Okay.
It will even be worse because of the current age demographics, that in the next 25 years it will be highly non-sustainable. So the debate is there to find a solution to it.
Maybe before we get to the current, in terms of savings, if you have those statistics, what was the level of saving then? Because we are talking about Uganda at 60 years.
Actually, when you speak of saving for retirement, we cannot speak of any money, any amount before independence. 1946, like I've said, it was purely defined benefit, no contribution. So you only worked until retirement and then they would pay you. So you are not making any contribution. Now, saving for retirement started in 1985, as far as the literature I've seen, with the introduction of the NSSF Act. Now, we've also seen a growth from that side where members, the numbers were not that significant, unfortunately. To begin to see some significant numbers, I think it is in late 2000, thereabout, or early 2000.
Okay.
That's the statistics I can ably access, and I think we had numbers of around 1 trillion thereabout. But the actual numbers we have to date, that we have from 2013 as low as 3 trillion to now, you're talking of 20 trillion. So the emergence of significant savings are more evidenced from between the time of 2011 thereabout and now.
And what are the contributing factors?
First and foremost, I think it's not by coincidence that that period relates with the establishment of the regulator. The regulator came into place by an act of parliament of 2011. The regulator was able to put in place stringent governance measures and controls in place and clear investment vehicles that were able to protect members' funds with the clear rules of investment that were promoting prudence. Those that have supported the work of NSSF today, it is purely established on the very strong fundamentals of governance, which are enshrined in the OBRA Act. All the trustees or the board of directors must meet a certain criteria to qualify to be a board of trustee. Number 2, you must have clear vehicles of investment where you invest the money, clear asset classes that have been earmarked. And number 3, you don't put all your eggs in one basket. You spread your investment in particular asset classes with clear limits. You don't exceed this, you don't exceed this. The other critical one is you must have a strategy of investment, and that has to be approved by us.
Uganda Retirement Benefit.
Yes, you forward it to us, we review it, we say, yeah, this is okay.
Why forward to you?
Because we need to be sure that what you plan to do is in line with the legal framework, and number 2, it meets the interest of the members for whom you are actually doing all this work for. So the fundamentals of governance are very clear, and that's what we think that we've been able to strongly impact in this market. And the foundation of investment vehicles and investment guidelines and regulations, the prudence of investment is another vehicle that we've been able to deal with. So the increase in the numbers that we're talking about to date are basically, it's not by coincidence that they relate with the time of the establishment of the regulator. So we are talking over issues of transparency, issues of accountability, issues of standardized reporting, disclosing to members, a requirement for feedback. Don't just sit there, do your things without involving the members. Members are involved from the point of appointing, not appointing, electing who are their trustees who are going to represent them or to work for them, the fiduciaries. Members are also involved in asking those questions. Why was this decision made? Why was money invested here, East, West, and Centre? All those things are taken care of in that discussion. So that's the journey today we are talking about. Not so much is available before independence, but at least the involvement is there to see that there were clear, deliberate policy decisions of government. We need to grow this sector, we need to do this. There are clear issues that were there in the past: loss of funds, poor governance, poor investments. That is prior to the establishment of the regulator. So in the wisdom of government, they said, you know what, we need to find a solution to this. We need to find measures that can be able to build this very strong foundation for the sector that can help us to take us to the next level.
A good leader is as one who looks at the past, looks at the current, but also makes a projection. What's your projection, maybe as the head of the Uganda Retirement Benefit Regulatory Authority, as Uganda celebrates 60 years?
We see a grounded future.
Sure.
With more savings in this market. What drives these savings, apart from the governance and apart from where the money is being invested? The good thing, money is being invested in assets that have very good returns today, but also see a growth in appreciating the principle of saving for retirement. The numbers I'm speaking about are not only informed by the contributions that we see, but the discussion has greatly enhanced. People who never used to think of saving for retirement because of all the vehicles I've talked about are purely informed by mandatory contributions. We see an emergence of occupational pension scheme, which are purely driven by employers who want to create something for their staff, but also looking at motivating of staff and retention and enhancing productivity. We see members enhancing their contributions beyond the mandatory ones. So the 20 trillion I talked about, NSSF has around 17 trillion, 17.2 I think, they're about 17.3. The difference of around 2.6 trillion is an emergence of these new vehicles, occupational schemes, and the understanding of saving for retirement. So going forward, if the momentum remains the way it is, I think we can be able to attain double-digit, not even double that figure of 20. Other than looking at that figure for the next 50 years, we see that doubling of that figure in the next 20 years.
In terms of policy, do you think there are policies that needs to maybe to be looked through?
The policy,
or maybe require amendments?
Yes. The main fear here is that, you know, when you are talking of saving for retirement, and then you have a policy where people are paid money in lump sum, and they spend it in less than 5 years, against a retirement age. Not retirement age is around 60 years, but people live in retirement for 17 years. Now, the average life expectancy in this market is 65 years. So it means that a person is likely to live longer in retirement in this market. And because of the behavioral changes in the market, people are likely to live even longer. So it means that the average life expectancy is likely to grow. Now, if people are paid money early enough, before that time of retirement, we are likely to see a threat to that model.
Okay.
That people are going to retire, be in retirement for many years, but without a cash flow. So the policy needs to be revisited. Probably the lump sum we have today need to be redirected, and something needs to be worked out, either be spread over time for the time when the person is in retirement for more years to serve that purpose. So want a person who is happy in retirement, and that can only be informed if there is a cash flow that regularly comes into the account of that person, or a message on his phone, or in his pockets.
Any regrets? What do you think is a threat still to the retirement sector?
The threats are always there. Remember, when you grow a large pool of funds without matching investment vehicles, I think we need to revisit, can we create more investable assets? And that's work that we are doing at WUBRA. That's what we need to think through, redesign policies, thinking of alternative investment vehicles that can be able to support this market. The regret that I see that has happened, this one I say without getting ashamed, the midterm access. Midterm access creates a leakage in the accumulation phase. But it also lessons to us, much as it is a regret, but it also opens eyes to the wider population. And these people are beginning to think that I think we need not to put all our weight on this money that has been earmarked for my retirement. I need to create another saving vehicle. So the beauty with that, we are going to see a growth in our other saving portfolios in this country, which will all contribute to the national saving vehicle.
Maybe which are these avenues, as we plan to sign up, which are these avenues that you're saying Ugandans should look at as other alternatives?
There are alternative savings, alternative investments. Here we are looking at, it is now us, apart from the one that we know, investing in government securities, investing in equities. I think we need to look at other, if we want to grow this economy further, we need to look at other unquoted equities, things that were not earlier planned for, but they can create a vehicle for long-term investment. But we need to do a lot of work. How do we standardize the local company established by my friend Makuvia to transit into a company that can attract capital from elsewhere? So we need to grow the governance standards. We need to educate the individual people to think out of the box, to attract this money, that as we educate more people that there is available resources in this market, then we can be able to put that money there. But also look at other, can we look at infrastructure bonds? We don't have them in this market. Tied bonds, people have the money that they would wish to put into that line.
Maybe we'd be asking ourselves why people are not investing that way.
No, because the vehicles are not there.
Maybe that's another discussion for another day. Your final word as Uganda celebrates 60 years of independence.
I only want to give assurance that with the wisdom of government who established the regulator and redesign the structure of governance in this sector with standardized framework of how the sector is operating, with clear segregation of functionalities, we can say the foundation has been set that can promote additional saving mobilization, and we can assure the public out there that your funds, however long you are saving for them, they will be protected, they will be monitored. But besides that, you will have joy that you're also making a contribution to the greater national economy, because the funds can be used for vehicles that can spur economic growth in this market, that can support, that you can feel a direct contribution. Besides that, but you're also getting a very good earning on your long-term saving. That money is protected and well secured, well invested.
Mr. Anthony, thank you for speaking to us. And if the words you can never doubt, you can never doubt the words of an authority. That is Mr. Anthony Nsubuga. He's the Chief Executive Officer of the Uganda Retirement Benefit Regulatory Authority. Happy Independence Celebration. This is the Coffee Court, and my name is Fred Makuvia.
And the night comes to an end in regards to news bulletins. It is Business Today. I've been Jerome Paul Sonko with Winnie Williams and Akauchi on sign language, and we were coming to you live from plot 42 Nile Avenue. We are Smart 24 TV, driving your business. Have a blessed night till tomorrow. Good evening.